Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Test. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Test. Test 1, 2. This may be one of my favorite looks or outfits I have done for a video session to date. Welcome back to another edition of The Way of the Daniel. It is March 12th, 2024, 11:32 a.m. And we are listening to a song titled Elm Shore by Just on Spotify. It's got a very nice, it's a mix, I would say, of hopefulness, starting out on a journey with a like magic feel to it. Today, we're going to talk about the void moon. The void moon. Because I woke up a little slowly this morning. Good sleep. Had a good sleep. Good sleep. But I didn't want to I wasn't ready to get out of bed. We were not ready to get out of bed. In fact, I got my music, my headphones, and my music and went back and laid down in sort of a meditation, which actually I like that way of waking up, and the only thing you do is get some music and go back and lie down until you're ready. It's a pretty good way of waking up. And a lot of times in the morning, there'll just be weird fucking chatter in the mind, probably ruminating on negative past things. Who knows? And we'll try to focus, but really can't focus too well when you're first coming out of sleep. It's mostly a readjustment to the world of wakefulness first, and then you can begin to start to focus. If any of you fuckers even try and play with focus. Focus. But what was so funny in the basis for this speech is that I decided, for whatever reason, to start with a personalized tarot reading for myself. And if you didn't catch a previous speech, I do a very basic reading. 2 cards in a category of where am I at? 2 cards in a category of what is the way forward, and 1 card above and between the 2 categories, giving some further information on the overall situation that is occurring. And what was funny was a large portion of how I interpreted the reading. I would say at least half, or we'll just go with a strong half of the importance or the message derived from the reading was refrain from action for a while. Refrain from action for a while. That was a combination of High Priestess plus 7 of Pentacles. And, first instinct could have been that, all right, you're just waking up. Duh. When I first wake up, refrain from action until you're more awake, till you slowly waking up the mind and the energies. Lots of times, unless you are excited about something gung-ho or there's some emergency, trying to just push for action right away is a recipe for disaster. Just wake up and leap into doing something. It'll either lead to frustration or that. It's pretty good beard we got going on. Maybe we won't shorten it so much this time and we'll just clean it up. Cause I don't like it when it gets in the mouth. I do that with my tongue and I can just get the hairs right there. But on screen it looks like solid length. So maybe we'll just clean it up. So after this tarot reading, refrain from action, I was not too long after went to look at the astrological weather. And so let's do that right now. Oh, wrong website. We got the sun at 22 degrees Pisces, moon 25 degrees Aries, Mercury 4 degrees Aries, Venus 1 degree Pisces, Mars 22 degrees Aquarius. But the biggest caveat, the reason we are doing this part of the reason we're doing this speech, the topic and title of this speech right now, my fucking chart is because the moon went fucking void at 5:07 a.m. this morning. And I love void moons. I love void moons. We're going to tell you a little bit about those. But the thing is, it's going to be void all fucking day. 5:07 Mountain Time. It's going to be void until 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time. It's not too often at all that we got a void moon for all fucking day. But lots of times the void moon will be in the middle of the fucking night when you're asleep or something. So many times I've woken up in the middle of the night during a void moon. And I love them. I love them. I love void moons. One word that you could say is, it's funny that I'm wearing this shirt. I did not plan this next phrase and this shirt together. They happened on their own, but they work really well together. I'm wearing this shirt because I'm washing clothes. I'm like, let's put that one on. But the void moon really feels like a mini vacation. A mini vacation where not only is there no requirement to do anything. There's no pressure. There's no advocacy to do anything. But it's also advised, don't do anything because it's not going to do you any good anyway. And you'll see as I get into the readings about that. So we are happily not doing a lot today. In fact, this is my second cup of coffee. I had one after I laid in bed for a while, but this one is a decaf. So we're not even fucking caring about getting sharp and focused and energized. Because one thing that does suck about caffeine is if you ingest a lot of caffeine but don't put any action behind it, yeah, good. That's a good recipe for restlessness and so we're just fucking chilling today. We're chilling. And Jose is doing something mysterious. Here he comes. Earlier, he penetrated our sacred bubble. He's out. Are you out? Oh, out of the sacred bubble. Okay, so he was transiting it. You can transit, but not stay. He's out already. That was good. Because Jose's a goddamn heathen. With some questionable musical tastes. Some. And then my mom's down here laughing at me. No, I like your sunglasses. Turning on. Oh, I forgot a light. I got to turn on this fucking light. I got to stop closing the watch. Is that going to bother you? Only if you talk to me about it. Okay. So, nope. Snooze, you lose. Snooze, you lose. Snooze, you lose. So we're going to read a little passage here. This book by Ivo Dominguez Jr. It's an author, as I'm interrupted rudely during my production, my fantastic and glorious production by my mother. Okay. It's good practice. It's good practice to maintain our bearings and our speech when she comes around. We just have to be a little more selective of our expression. Boom. Not repressive, a little more selective. A little more selective of our repression. Of our expression. That's kind of interesting. A little more selective of our repression. That's kind of fascinating too. So it's worth checking out. Void Moon, as you'll see in this reading, good time for reflection. One of the other things that came up during my reading is planning, which we will get to later in this topic after I read to you about Void Moon. Then we'll talk about planning. Then we'll fucking talk about planning. Okay, Ivo Dominguez, Practical Astrology for Witches and Pagans. He seems very, very, very competent in his books that he writes. Does not want to put out shit unless he thinks it's accurate. Unless he's got good confidence that it's quality material, and he's very to the point, very basic, simplistic, nothing flowery. Just fucking overall one of the better authors I've come across. And all his books, are going to be good shit. Ivo Dominguez Jr. There's a special circumstance related to the moon called void of course moon that has very different implications for mundane purposes versus magical purposes. As you know, the moon moves swiftly through the zodiac and as such makes more aspects for any given period of time than the other planets. That's so fascinating because maybe you could also look at the other planets and think, oh, if they aren't making any aspects, maybe their influences aren't making a big impact. That's my little aside. The moon rules the ebb and flow of daily life. The moon spends roughly 2.5 days in each of the signs, and as it moves, it will come into aspect with other planets. The moon is said to be void of course when it has completed all the aspects that it will within a sign and is waiting to enter the next sign. The duration for void of course moon is generally a few minutes to a few hours, although there are rare occasions when it can actually last for days. And today is a rare occasion where it lasts for many, many, many hours. Fucking, that's over 12 hours. Over 12 hours of void of course moon. It's like 13 hours and 20 minutes, essentially. 13 hours and 20 minutes. Here are a few analogies to help you begin to understand the void of course moon. I'm going to put a little aside here. I've told people a lot about void of course moon in a day-to-day life. And here's one of those there's frequently a lot of times the reactions you get from people, one of two things. One, frequently you get deer in the headlights, where they're just giving you this blank look as what you're saying is going, it's like going in one ear and out the other, blank look, vacuum. Not even a look of confusion, because confusion would at least imply they're thinking about it or trying to process what you're saying. But no, this one's just a blank fucking look. Does not register. Maybe they think you're a crazy person. Maybe they're just not buying what you're saying. I think it could be a look of shock. Maybe they're just going to be in shock, like a mild form of shock, because what you're saying and expressing does not register to their life at all. Another reaction people have, very similar, but they'll just like blow it off. You're like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, cool, and then just keep going with whatever else is going on in their life. That also is a pretty common reaction of just, it's like hearing without listening and then writing it off every second you're talking immediately as nothing. And that's actually a fun strategy I try to develop out in the world. It's probably similar to when your interactions with people. at gas stations or fast food restaurants, things of that nature, where you're really not going to get frequently a very personable interaction, because they're interacting with so many people that they can't. It would be so fucking draining to just try to treat everyone like a fucking person instead of a transaction throughout the day. So objectifying transaction. Save a meaningful reaction, a meaningful, personable interaction for a personable person. Here are a few analogies to help you begin to understand the void of course moon. Imagine that the moon is sitting in its celestial office at its desk. The moon has a to-do list, aspects to make, and has finished everything on the list. But there are still a few more hours until the work shift sign is done. The moon, like many office workers, will then sit at the desk and doodle or doze off or fritter away time on social media websites. If an email arrives with more work to do, they won't notice it until the next day. Imagine that the moon is a cyclist that is no longer pedaling and is coasting. Or you can imagine driving a truck whose power steering has ceased to work. This is the one I usually use coming up. Or you can imagine a car with a manual transmission with the stick in neutral, but the gas pedal down with the engine revving up. That one I find is so fascinating because you could possibly, from that analogy, treat the moon as getting ready for like that race getting to start, revving your engine, and then when it hits the new sign, maybe you could, maybe you can help yourself remember the meaning of void of course moon with the image of a crescent moon floating on the ocean like a ship with no hand upon the steering wheel and thus no course. Void of course means that no direction has been selected or favored. We'll skip ahead. Remember that during the void of course moon, the engine of the universe is in neutral, and patterns that you place in the astral are not likely to make the journey into manifestation the way you expected. That said, void of course moon is a good time for divination, journeying work, and efforts to retrieve things from the past or the future. As an example, past life regressions are assisted by void of course moon. The veils between the worlds are thinner, and the astral tide is slack, neither pushing nor pulling. Where? Oh. During a void of course moon, our subtle bodies are more pliant and less resistant to intrusion. Hey, see, I put up that bubble of sacredness and Jose just fucking right through it. That means long-standing chronic conditions can more easily diagnosed and their roots unearthed, which may lead to the next part of our discussion. It also means that if work at hand is the extraction or removal of energetic detritus, curses, embedded thought forms, or entities, then it is easier to dig into the subtle bodies to dislodge and remove the problem. such a great source of information about the void, of course, man. So don't try to do a whole lot today. Don't try to make things happen. Celebrate and enjoy the mini vacation. Or if you're like me, well, as part of the mini vacation, we're not going to get too strong into it. We will play with a little exploration and curiosity and immersion. Try to center more in the camera. Planning. The other half of the puzzle this morning with the tarot reading was the curiosity to adjust, not to necessarily make plans, not to necessarily try and make any plans, but to look at your attitude toward planning, to see if there's anything we can adjust with planning. And traditionally, my attitude towards planning is like the video clip I have linked in the description of a scene from the movie Rules of Attraction, where the character Sean Bateman goes to his drug dealer Rupert to try to get some drugs. And it was so funny because I fucking love Rupert. I love that movie so much. So many of the characters are amazing. There's so much about that movie that I fucking find fantastic. So many aspects of my personality that I love, that for whatever fucking reason I just can't be, are in that movie. Thus the shit show of my life, in that there are so many aspects of myself that would be more authentically my personality that I just can't seem to figure out how to be. And thus that expression of watching your life pass you by as you are completely inept and unable to actually live it. Fuck that shit. I'm definitely absolutely not alone in that regards. And in some regards, that may be the whole point of the striving to get to, because you can look at tons of people and they're not who they are. There's some pretentious fucking stupid shit, but they like to play the pretentious fucking stupid shit game, where I just want to authentically be me. And there's a few people who were blessed, sort of. I don't know if blessed is the right word, but they from birth were themselves and are themselves. And is funny because they're frequently oblivious to this fact that they're just naturally themselves. And I don't think for some reason, it's weird how they might not understand how others are not themselves. Or maybe because they are themselves, their interactions with others are more authentic as well. I don't know. We're not going to go into it. Clip with Rupert is so funny. It's such a great representation. Which is funny because he's done a bunch of coke, and I don't do coke, but I do frequently tell people my natural energies are as if someone's doing coke and acid. Like that's how my life is as if someone were 24/7 on coke and acid. um I mean, that'd be cool if I did that in a past life, and that's where we're at now. um but I love his representation and expression of anger in the video. It's like no. I need you like I need a motherfucking asshole on my elbow. Asshole. um, you want some coke? Then buy some of your own, bitch. Where's my motherfucking money? He just doesn't put up with any bullshit. Like, I would love whenever someone's being dishonest. Be like, don't fucking lie to me. Don't fucking lie to me. I can see right through your asshole. Don't fucking do this pretentious shit. Or if they're being a douche, don't be a fucking douche. Don't fucking lie to me. I could see right through you, motherfucker. Motherfucker. But again, we have to be very selective about our expression, very selective about our repression. Because people don't handle it so well. We've been arrested and interred places we don't want to go back to. We have not found a way. People flip out. They lose their shit. So we have not found a way. We have not yet found a way to do it conducively, to express it in ways which we do not think will harm our security. Because we love it. We want to express it and not have it bottle up inside and destroy us, eat us from the inside out. But we also do not want it to jeopardize the security and safety of our being as a physical organism. We do not want it to lead to incarceration or outcasts or whatever. So it's still a mystery. It's still the jury's out on how to express that one. But going with planning, okay. Planning is how I'll feel frustrated with it. Of like, this fucking shit. This fucking planning shit. And that was in part, I think, when I did my 5-minute meditation before doing the video, was to really get into the frustrations I have surrounding planning. And one of them sort of, and we're going to so we're kind of like looking at this perception of planning, i.e., where we are aiming to perhaps adjust our attitude toward it, look at our attitude toward it, and fun use again of this void moon here, where it indicates, at least from Ivo Dominguez Jr. in that passage, that you can more easily get to the roots of issues, of problems. So we're going to see if we can get to the easier root of the issue here with the planning, attitude adjustment, and look at some of the obstacles surrounding it. One being that I don't plan because I want to. I plan because I feel forced to. that their time flows on regardless. Time's going to keep flowing on, except during the void, of course, moon. The energies are going to keep pushing you. They're going to keep pushing at you. My life, for better or worse, for at least many years now, has pushed at me, has been on this never-ending fucking quest, shit show quest. I'm gonna go get this other notebook because there's a great quote in it for Katniss Everdeen in the Hunger Games. I'm gonna see if I can find it. Okay. Here's a good one for that can help with planning. I think I find I'm actually anticipating the moment with pleasure, but first I have to get some strength back in my body. We're gonna type that out real quick. Brackets can maybe help you adjust your attitude with planning. I find that I'm actually anticipating the moment with pleasure, but first I have to get some strength back in my body. That's not the quote we were looking for. This is your tracker. The stiller you are, the more efficiently I can place it. Void, of course, moon may be a good time to practice some stillness. Oh, here's the quote. Here's the quote I was looking for. I have to stop and rest frequently, although I know the only cure for what ails me requires continued searching. Because here's the fucking thing. Years ago, when my life completely changed, I lost like 99% of interest or enjoyment in things that I used to find interesting or enjoying. I.e., lots of people will go and do things just for fun. They'll just go do things for fun. I can't fucking do that. I can't fucking do that. Almost everything I do has to be tailored along the way of some purpose or tailored to this path that frequently I just have to hack and slash my way through the jungle. In this fucking jungle, fucking bugs everywhere, sweltering, suck ass, forging way through the jungle. And with the, you can try and just relax, just chill. You can't just stop. You can't just stop. It's going to keep pushing you. It's going to keep pushing you. You stop, you try to relax, and then you get stagnant, and the stagnant's fucking awful. Like a swamp. Stagnant like a swamp. You stay there until you can get back on the path. So, but I mean, we still got it. Like the passage says, I have to stop and rest frequently. And as I get older, it's rest more frequently. But although I know the only cure for what ails me requires continued searching, So obviously, and here's the other caveat too. Like I look at lots of people as living idle fucking nothing lives. Idle fucking going nowhere lives. They're just fine existing in their idleness. And so a lot of my struggle is trying to align what I do more along the path of a journey, purposeful journey. It is true that when I have encountered some minor success with that, then I will feel better. So it's not to say that is not how I want to live my life, because I would rather live a life with some directed purpose as opposed to an idle just existing for the existence of it. Fuck that. So planning, I don't know if we're going to find the obstacles. It does feel like the speech is winding down a little bit, but we are on my own when I'm not talking as much and I'll be quieter. And now I'm putting my mind more focally in that direction of looking at planning and looking at adjusting our attitude toward it better. And we'll see. We'll see where that goes. We'll see where that goes. I'll give you an example. Here's one of the frustrations with planning, right? Is like I could start up with a plan of how to get out of here. Be like, all right, well, here's how much I got saved up. Here's what I think I need to go start new somewhere. And here's how much it looks like rent might cost in a place without being in a fucking ghetto or shitty neighborhood. And then look at, well, here's what possible jobs we could do that wouldn't make us fucking miserable. And that might be able to afford us to pay that rent without fucking biting us in the ass. But then I'm like, whoa. How about we look at higher paying jobs? Why are we satisfied with making just this bare minimum X a month when we could make a bunch more Y if we opened ourselves more to that possibility? Because right now, the only reason you think that is what you can do is because your mind is locked into that belief of limitations. So you could strategically, in one way, for part of the planning process, is try to open yourself up to not requiring that you just barely get along and this bare minimum. What is the bare minimum job? That kind of shit. You don't have to necessarily lock yourself into it's a place that's not in the ghetto that could be okay to get by in. Instead of asking, where do I think would be okay? You could ask, where would I most want to go? So then what happens is we start to get 1,000 variables with the planning. 1,000 variables with the planning. Which right now doesn't seem so terrible. It can just get kind of confusing and doesn't really seem to go anywhere. And a lot of times, it'd be cool if when we sat down and did some planning, that it actually felt like the plan was going somewhere. But a lot of times it's more just like bang, 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 pounding on the plan. So we'll see. We'll see what the rest of the day brings. Maybe we'll find some better ways to look at this whole, maybe redefine this whole way we view planning. Yeah, because that was actually, I liked this here. Can maybe look at planning differently, at what is actually going on, how it shapes reality. Like what is actually, like one time I did actually have success with that, was looking at planning, not as planning, but as preparing, but as a way of preparing, of making preparations, had a more positive connotation to it. Alrighty then. We are going to close down this session, this day of the way of the Daniel. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you. It does seem like, let's woosah a bit, because it does seem like it was a little like last speech where we kind of digressed, started maybe rambling, and then we got into, it started to seem a little negative. Like last speech, I know we got into some anger, and here we started getting into a little bit of a rant about planning. So I definitely, you as the audience, I do not want to leave you like this all the time. So we will try to work with that a little bit better in our speeches and not end with a negative rant. We don't want to end with a negative rant. We want to end with at least a nice ending. Nobody likes a movie that ends in a negative fashion. We want to end with a nice ending to it. So thank you for joining us again on another session of The Way of the Daniel, coming to you from the West Side. May you live long and prosper. May the force be with you, and may the odds be ever in your favor.